That's it.
It's weird because I feel like if you would have just said these words 7 months ago, you would have still been in the house. No emotional connection is like a connection that I have with you and our family.
But I felt like I wasn't chosen. I felt like you chose somebody over me, and I was less than. And how much as it hurt me, how much as I'm angry, I have to let you be.
What I see in front of me is the man that I fell in love with. Sweet, kind, vulnerable. Where has he been? Where has this person been? Where?
Leaving you felt like it was leaving my kids too. The hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. I don't even see my kids no more. And here we are. We was friends before we became anything.
20 years is a long time to spend building a relationship with somebody, especially when the entire world has watched every sacrifice, every scandal, every prison sentence, every cheating rumor, and every emotional breakdown happen publicly. That is why this situation between Yandy Smith and Mendeecees Harris feels way deeper than normal reality TV drama. This honestly feels like years of emotional imbalance finally catching up to both of them at the same time. The biggest thing that stood out during their latest emotional conversation was not yelling or disrespect. It was how emotionally disconnected Yandy looked while Mendeecees was trying to open up to her. Her energy felt cold, exhausted, and mentally checked out. And honestly, when somebody reaches that point in a relationship, that is usually way more serious than anger, because anger still means somebody is emotionally invested enough to fight. Yandy looked like somebody who has already spent years grieving the relationship privately. And when you really go back through their history, the signs have honestly been there for a long time.
I'm tired. I wake up and I'm tired. I can't live like that, and I have to be the best version of me so that I can create the best versions of my children. All I know is that I just want something different, and I cannot continue on like this. Like, I just can't. I don't know what this is supposed to feel like, but I know that this is not what forever's supposed to feel like. So, I mean, I think, like, maybe it's time we do something different. It's been years of us trying to figure this thing out and make this puzzle fit, and it just feels like the puzzle pieces are not fitting together anymore.
From the beginning, Yandy built her identity around being the woman who would hold Mendeecees down no matter what happened. She defended him against cheating rumors, defended him against public criticism, fought his battles with the mothers of his children, and carried their entire household while he was serving time in prison. When Mendeecees was sentenced and locked up for years, Yandy became the face of loyalty on Love and Hip Hop. She was raising children, managing businesses, handling public pressure, and still protecting his image at the same time. Most relationships would not have survived that kind of pressure, but Yandy kept fighting for theirs anyway. But one moment completely changed how their relationship looked to a lot of people. Mendeecees admitted that if the roles were reversed, he probably would not have stayed and waited for Yandy the way she waited for him. That statement exposed a huge emotional imbalance in their marriage, because suddenly the relationship no longer looked equal.
When she said she held you down, it's like everybody could see like you was gone for 4 years. You came back, she was still there. To a woman, they call that holding you down.
Yeah. I'm not here to say, yo, it didn't happen or what didn't happen. I'm just saying you don't know my life from the gram.
I mean, did she hold you down?
She held me down.
Yeah.
She could have got married and moved
So why do you get so offended when you say, well, you don't know how she held me down?
No, because the reason why I said that, right? People think if someone held you down, you owe them your life.
Yeah.
Right? They can beat you up, smack you up, and do everything else but she held you down.
Yeah, I went through the same.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, how long you gonna keep me to the fire, and what abuse you think I'm gonna take? I don't know, do I supposed to be the slave for the rest of my life to someone that picked up the phone call when I called? I don't know.
It looked like Yandy was willing to sacrifice everything for him, while he was not willing to sacrifice the same in return. And honestly, that changed the entire way people started looking at their relationship. Things became even more complicated after Mendeecees came home from prison, because Yandy was no longer the same woman she used to be. During those years apart, she became more independent, more emotionally self-sufficient, and more successful on her own. She was no longer just Mendeecees' wife. She became a businesswoman, entrepreneur, activist, and public figure with her own identity outside of their marriage. That kind of shift changes relationship dynamics completely, because sometimes one person evolves while the other person still expects the old version of the relationship to exist. And honestly, Mendeecees never really seemed comfortable with how much Yandy had grown without him. There were multiple moments where he seemed more focused on respect and control than emotional connection. He openly said he values respect over love.
We going through that in therapy.
Do you trust Mendeecees?
We going through that in therapy.
Okay.
Trust is part of the
Trust is
relationship,
part of it, but that's not it.
But the main part for me is respect. Love is cool, but I prefer respect.
And I prefer love.
Respect gotta come first.
I feel like if you love me, you're gonna respect me.
Do you think he respects you?
I think he's respectful.
Do you think Yandy respects you?
No.
I think she loves me. I can't say respect.
So that's where the problem is.
It's like,
He became upset over social media posts, her workouts, the people around her, and even situations that had nothing to do with cheating. At one point, he even stopped wearing his wedding ring during their rough patch, and that alone said a lot about where he was mentally in the relationship. Meanwhile, Yandy kept trying to hold everything together publicly while quietly becoming more emotionally drained behind the scenes. That is why the emotional affair situation hit differently. A lot of people immediately focused on whether Yandy emotionally entertained another man, but honestly, that situation looked more like emotional starvation than simple betrayal. It felt like years of emotional neglect, exhaustion, and resentment had finally pushed her to seek emotional comfort somewhere else.
Have you ever had a physical or emotional affair on your husband?
I've definitely had an emotional connection with someone outside of my husband, and we had to deal with it.
it's time that we grow the up. We make a decision. Either we're gonna be together or we're not gonna.
Don't block me. Don't block me. Don't take off your ring. Stop doing dumb.
Listen, do right, I won't unblock you. Do right, the ring won't come off.
Just stop.
Do you think having an emotional affair, which Yandy has now admitted to, is cheating?
Absolutely. That's worse than having a physical affair. You can't be emotionally getting attached to other men. That's not how you're supposed to operate in a marriage. You always gotta keep me in your mind.
That does not excuse everything, but it definitely explains why their marriage now feels emotionally broken instead of temporarily damaged. What makes the current situation even sadder is that Mendeecees now seems more emotional than ever before. He finally looks like somebody realizing he could actually lose the woman who spent years sacrificing herself for him. But the problem is, that realization may have come way too late. Because Yandy no longer reacts like somebody trying to save a relationship. She reacts like somebody tired of carrying one.
You left her feeling like Yandy didn't hold me down. First of all, that's not true. And second of all, she's not deserving of that conversation.
What's not true?
I never did nothing for you.
I never said that. Listen,
That is the way you
I'm gonna keep that
speak it.
private, right? That's between me and you.
It's not. I'm very annoyed that I even have to have this conversation with Mendeecees. What you do not get to do is take away from the journey I took with you, because everything you left prison with, you came back to.
Did you ever date someone while he was in prison?
No.
She no different from Bambi. You can have your opinion. Don't bring it to me, because I don't give a
But then that's what you say. If somebody say, oh, Mendeecees always taking up for you. Mendeecees always got your back. And I'd be like, hey, that's what you think. You don't know my life. You don't know the truth. You don't know what that do outside of this show.
Yeah, it would sound like that.
Yeah, so what are you saying?
I ain't saying nothing.
Everywhere I go, people say a whole lot of things about how amazing you are. I'm gonna start saying, y'all don't know my life. Y'all think he's amazing.
But they say
Y'all don't-
that-
but is that cool for me to do that to you? Because we could both do that. You gotta control your emotions.
And honestly, that is the most painful stage of any relationship. Because once somebody emotionally detaches, it becomes very hard to rebuild what was lost. The crying, begging, and emotional conversations usually happen before somebody checks out mentally, not after. That is why their scenes feel so uncomfortable now. This no longer feels like temporary reality TV drama or storyline tension. It feels like two people finally confronting years of emotional resentment that they kept burying underneath loyalty, obligation, family, and history.
Even their marriage itself became controversial after Yandy admitted their televised wedding was symbolic and not legally official at the time. That revelation shocked a lot of people because their relationship had always been presented like this fairy tale ride-or-die love story. But behind the scenes, there were clearly deeper issues that never fully got resolved. And honestly, that may be the biggest issue here. This relationship survived prison, public embarrassment, cheating rumors, co-parenting drama, and years of pressure. But surviving hard times is not the same thing as emotionally healing from them. Sometimes people stay together so long that they forget unresolved pain keeps building underneath the surface, until eventually, one person cannot carry the emotional weight anymore. And right now, Yandy looks exactly like somebody who has finally reached that limit. At this point, the biggest question is not whether they still love each other. The real question is whether too much emotional damage has already happened for them to reconnect the way they used to. Because sometimes, people do not fall apart overnight. Sometimes relationships slowly break down over years, while both people pretend everything is still holding together. And honestly, that is exactly what this marriage feels like now.
And honestly, what makes this even crazier is that all of this is happening while Love and Hip Hop Atlanta is coming to an end. So now, these moments between Yandy and Mendeecees feel even heavier because it almost feels like the closing chapter of an entire era. For years, their relationship was one of the biggest storylines across the franchise. People watched them survive prison, family drama, cheating rumors, emotional breakdowns, and public pressure. But now, with the show ending, it feels like everything is finally being exposed emotionally in a way we have never really seen before. And honestly, endings reveal everything. Because once the cameras slow down and the storyline fades away, all that is left is the real relationship underneath it all. So was Yandy truly happy all these years? Or was she simply trying to keep everything together for the family and the image? Did Mendeecees really take her loyalty for granted until he felt her emotionally slipping away? And now that Love and Hip Hop Atlanta is ending, are they strong enough to survive without all the distractions around them? Or did the end of the show accidentally expose the end of their relationship too?